Joe Rogan is famous for a lot of things, but he's widely popular for not being afraid to voice his opinions through the internet. Just lately, Joe Rogan became a trending topic after he slammed the Catholic Vatican as a country filled with pedophiles and stolen art. Find out more about what this social media figure has to say about other controversial stuff, only here in today's video. So make sure you keep on watching. In his podcast, Joe Rogan criticized the Vatican for being filled with pedophiles and stolen art, and expressed displeasure that the matter is not being discussed. The Joe Rogan Experience podcast episode 1848 has Joe Rogan and his guests discussing the global scandals, including Jeffrey Epstein's history of sexual abuse and human trafficking. When the topic of the Vatican came up, Rogan said that the nation was full of pedophiles and stolen art. Rogan's remarks follow the visit to Canada by Pope Francis, who visited there to beg for forgiveness for the Catholic Church's involvement in the country's residential school system, which tortured and forcibly removed Indigenous children from their families. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada documented widespread physical and sexual abuse in schools in a report released in 2015, concluding that the educational system amounted to cultural genocide. In recent decades, scandals involving child abuse in Catholic churches have surfaced all over the world. The 2016 Best Picture Oscar went to the movie Spotlight, which is about a group of reporters and editors at the Boston Globe who tirelessly looked into a horrifying Catholic church cover-up of child molestation. Written by investigative journalist Gerald Posner in 2015, details several financial scandals that have bedeviled the Vatican, including the use of $5 million to cover up monks who were misusing donations and generating money directly from the death of Jews during the Holocaust. The Pope has said that he might resign from his position due to poor health after his most recent trip to Canada. Slamming the church's activities wasn't the only thing Joe Rogan called out, since there are a lot more where he ruffled a lot of feathers. Are you curious to know what these issues are? Then keep on watching to find out. Even the current US president's administration has no escape from Joe Rogan, because he's also having none of the Biden administration's claims that the economy is not in a recession. The president and his advisors have come under fire from a Spotify podcaster for their refusal to accept that the US is experiencing a recession after 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, which is the standard definition of recession. The Joe Rogan Experience host expressed displeasure with Wikipedia because the online resource forbade anyone from changing his page on the recession. Chris Williamson of YouTube was a guest on the show, and host Joe Rogan stated that the government is attempting to avoid to use the term recession in his remarks. He claimed that the Biden administration was essentially altering the definition of a recession. In addition, Rogan claimed that the attempts to redefine a recession amounts to gaslighting, warning that while it may seem unimportant to some, since they're discussing the current economic downturn, it is actually quite serious because we have always used the term recession. We've always used that term to define whether or not the economic policies that are currently in place and whether or not the management and the government have done a good job of making sure that the economy stays in a good place, Rogan claimed. Williamson claimed that Democrats made a deliberate decision to avoid using the word recession in the run-up to the midterm elections. The Biden administration accused Wikipedia last week of interfering by blocking people from changing the recession article, after dozens of users raced to the recession entry and made dozens of adjustments shortly after the Commerce Department released data revealing that the nation's GDP declined by 0.9% last quarter. The website limited edits for the page. President Biden and prominent economic figures such as Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen have emphasized that the U.S. is not experiencing a recession. They stated in a statement that the nation is in a transitional phase during which growth is slowing, that this is necessary and appropriate, and that we need to be growing at a steady and sustainable pace. If you think that was the end of Rogan's callouts, you best believe there's more. In one of his most controversial takes, Rogan claims that Jeffrey Epstein may have been a CIA or Mossad spy. According to Joe Rogan, the convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein may have been a CIA or Mossad operative, working for a scheme to gather private data on the wealthy and powerful. On his powerful show last Friday, Rogan brought up Epstein and his link to Harvard University with the help of Whitney Cummings. According to Rogan, Epstein was bringing cash and people to events as if there was an intelligence operation. It was an intelligence operation, regardless of who was in charge, whether it was the CIA, the Mossad, or a mixture of both, and compromised by them. In 2019, Epstein committed suicide while awaiting a sex trafficking prosecution. He is accused of abusing numerous girls, some of whom were as young as 14 years old. Ghislaine Maxwell, his mother, was given a 20-year sentence in federal prison this month for recruiting underage girls for Epstein's sex trafficking business. The Israeli spy agency Mossad was thought to have connections with Maxwell's late father, Robert Maxwell. But in all fairness, Jeffrey Epstein's ties had a pretty wide reach and even had several institutions in his pockets too, so Rogan's claims are not too far-fetched. In 2020, Harvard discovered that while Epstein was prohibited from making gifts after his 2008 sex offenses conviction in a Florida state court, the university had taken more than $9 million from him in the 10 years prior. After his conviction, Epstein visited the Cambridge, Massachusetts campus more than 40 times, including as recently as 2018. The university penalized Martin Nowick, a Harvard professor with close ties to Epstein, who was accused of giving him an office on campus. Epstein's visits ceased after Nowick received complaints from other researchers regarding Epstein's presence, according to the investigators. According to the investigation, Harvard's senior administrators didn't do anything illegal while dealing with Epstein. The majority of the Epstein funds had already been used by last year, but the institution claimed to have donated the remaining $200,000 to organizations that aid sex trafficking and assault victims. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology and other universities have come under investigation for their associations with Epstein. Joy Ito, the former director of MIT's renowned media lab, resigned in 2019 amid controversy surrounding his financial ties to Epstein. He apologized in front of the public and promised to raise money for trafficking victims. Moving on to more pressing matters. Joe Rogan also voiced his concern over the social media platform TikTok and how it knows everything you type. In one of the more recent podcast episodes with comedian Theo Von, Rogan shared that he went down a TikTok rabbit hole and claimed that the whole experience was crazy and even described it as bad. Rogan then narrated a few of TikTok's privacy policies, which is pretty alarming if we're being honest too. Your IP address and user region are only two examples of the data that the platform's policy states they gather about the device you use to access the platform. That's not all though. TikTok also gathers information about your user agent, mobile carrier, time zone preferences, identifiers for advertising purposes, device model, operating system, network type, device IDs, screen resolution, and operating system, as well as app and file names and kinds. When you log in from numerous devices, according to Rogan, TikTok can get information about the battery level, the audio settings, and the linked audio devices. He further asserted that the platform can log you into TikTok using computers that you're not even using, and that they can even extract data from those devices. However, Rogan wasn't the first one to blow a whistle over TikTok's alarming policies, since it's been done by several figures as well. Gizmodo, a tech news website, said on July 27th that internal TikTok documents that had been hacked revealed how far the service had gone, to downplay the China Association. The TikTok Master Messaging and TikTok Key Messages documents provide information on the social media giant's public relations tactics during a time when ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, and its connections to the Chinese Community Party came under increasing scrutiny from lawmakers and regulators. By stating its commitment to transparency, TikTok is attempting to allay public worries that user data may end up in the wrong hands. Vanessa Pappas, the chief operating officer of TikTok, emphasized in a statement that the company aims to develop in a responsible and equitable manner, so that the community may use the app to securely create, distribute, and take in amusing and creative material. Additionally, she said that they recognize that simply stating "trust us" is insufficient, therefore, they constantly strive to be transparent about the steps they take to protect their platform. And with that, we're ending today's video about Joe Rogan's constant callouts to several issues. Do you agree with what this social media icon has to say? Let us know in the comment section below. Before you go, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on for more videos like these. Thanks for watching and see you next time.